Oh, you know what time it is. It's the morning, and you're tuned in here. So let me move you a little bit further back just so you can see what we have here to show you and everything and talk about. So we're going to go ahead and read the comments as we always do. Good morning, everybody. Maybe it's not the morning. Maybe you're tuned in at a different time. But either way, you're still here. You're tuned in. And this is what we do, Collectors Radio. And for some people that are maybe new to the channel, just subscribing, wondering what the heck are we doing here, this is where we get together. We talk about just random topics, mostly firearms, obviously, classic stuff, my experiences with it or whatnot. We share things in the comment section. I read your comments, and we go from there. So again, most of the time, we always mention that if we failed to read your comment, it's because either we just didn't get to it in time by the time we filmed this, or for some reason it was pulled. So anyway, or it's just it's too rated R for our program. All right, so up first we have Slimfire 54. Nice shotgun, JW. It looks brand new, and great Collectors Radio too. I had a Winchester shotgun in a 20 gauge, but I favored the Remington 870. Thanks, Slim. You know, an old school Remington 870 is really hard to beat. I like them because of that old school, look. And I mean, come on, they've just, they're just iconic. JW, back in the good old days, I saw The Getaway and Steve McQueen pick up a high standard riot gun in exchange for not using his 1911. The ensuing scene was incredibly realistic. Sam Peckinpah did an excellent job in that movie. I think it's one of his best. As well as later usage in the movie. One day it was in my favorite gun store, and holy moly, there was a high standard riot gun. Of course, I had to have it. First day of ownership has a story that involved two police departments and my tape measure. I cooked off a lot of assorted 12 gauge shells through it. One day I quit firing. Everything seemed normal, cycling shells, but wouldn't ignite because the primers were untouched. Took it to a friend's brother who did some informal gunsmithing, and he found a broken firing pin. Placed it for something around $20. Still shoots to this day. That was my first movie gun. My next would be the Model 29, a 6.5-inch barrel. Nothing has ever procured in my yen. But I did get a polished stainless Vaquero in 45 Colt with a 5.5, but nothing to do with Tombstone. I think, you know what? It's funny how many of us like movies and like The Getaway and searched and hunted down the high standard riot gun. And I'm wondering how much more popular that shotgun had become in the kind of a cult following because of that movie. I myself was in a pawn shop, saw it, and just knew exactly what it was and snagged it up. And that's how I got mine. And don't ever intend to sell it, even though I'm a very temporary, everything with me is just so temporary. Where I live, my job, everything. I mean, I am ready to pack up, throw a backpack on my back, and head off into the sunset, kind of a deal. I just kind of given up on permanent things. So, but yeah, it's one of those that have definitely stuck around for a long time. I've had it for some years now, and only recently, so it's funny, is I've had that shotgun for a good 3-4 years, and only recently started actually shooting it. So, all right, Sean Lee, I'm looking into a Mossberg 500 12 gauge, and now I have to look into these. Winchester as an option as well. Sometimes it's all about getting out and having some fun with what you have. That's absolutely. Mike, great stuff, nice shotgun. Never have to worry about refinishing an old gun, but I am no collector. I mean, I'm a collector, but I'm a collector to the point of where my finances allow it. A lot of times, my finances are just not going to come up to the collector's market as far as the price goes. So maybe something, if it's been refinished or something, and that kind of brings the price down, I don't mind it because I'm going to shoot the gun anyway. I'm going to go out there and have fun with it and do all that kind of sort of stuff. So I have grown less interested in something that's like brand new in the box, untouched, unfired, all that kind of stuff. Those are cool. They have their spot, and some people, that's what they really care about, and I'm not knocking that. It has become less of an appeal to me lately because I want to get out and enjoy the thing. Because over the course of selling a lot of my stuff, I realized that in the end that didn't matter. He only kept it nice for the next owner, so I kind of turned the coin a little bit and started enjoying the things, and then getting rid of them. So, all right, Harrison Mantooth, good morning, BATJAC. I tuned in late this morning, had a couple of cups of coffee while I watched this episode. That Model 12 looks gorgeous. I regrettably passed the chance to buy a Model 12 from a coworker, a fellow hunter back in the mid-'60s for $200. I'm still kicking myself for not buying it. I did shoot it on occasion, and it was buttery smooth. That they are. Thanks, Stan. All right. Scottish American, even though he is still crazy in my book. Yep, nothing like classic John Wayne movie. Excellent pickup. I really do like the old school Model 12. Yeah, I mean, there's something iconic about them that they're out there. Be careful when you go to buy them. I would suggest you do your research on them. Joe P. Every time I see a corncob forehand, I get excited. What's wrong with me? Fantastic purchase, JW. Swig of coffee for Joe. Jeffrey Richardson. I really love my dad's. I'm assuming you're talking about the Model 12. Kevin Collier. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Model 12 can be used in a wild bunch SAS matches. Run that with your 1911. Yes, they started using Model 12s in there because they wore the hell out of all the Model 97s. All right. Ty Little. How do I go about getting a set of your grips for my single action revolver from you? We did have the eBay store going on. I am currently thinking and talking with some people that were involved in making that happen on that end. We may or may not do that. If we do, it's going to be in a small batch run. But currently right now I'm not making any of them. But if we do, if you stay tuned in with the channel, especially the Collectors Radio, where we talk about this, and if we do post them up on eBay, there will be a link in the comment section. There will be a pinned link to where to go to buy them if we do end up doing that. But as it would be, we get taxed to death on a lot of that stuff. So it really kind of it's the reason why we didn't continue doing it full time. And plus, really, once we were putting them up pretty regularly, once we saw the decrease in sales, we pretty much pulled them. So, but yeah, we may or may not do that again. We're entertaining the idea right now. All right, Jim Wilson, Excellence Shotgun. Yes. Danger Man, big surprise, but I love the Winchester in the Getaway. I think you might be thinking of the High Standard. That's what he had in it, in the Getaway. He had a High Standard Riot model. I think it's called a K120. I'd have to dig mine out and look at it to be sure, but that's what he had. You can tell it's definitely different because of the size of the corncob on that thing. The size of the corncob pump or whatever, the slide action on it, it's just like, it's massive. It's a lot larger than all the other ones. So maybe that's what you're thinking of. I'm not sure. Who doesn't want a Steve McQueen movie gun, right? The 12 gauge pump is essential in any part of any collection. Absolutely. I'm partial to the Mossberg myself. Not a bad choice. Mossbergs have never really failed. That's just my opinion. My buddy served in Vietnam during the M16 jamming fiasco. He kept writing home to his grandmother, asking her to send him gun oil. She got pissed and went into the gun store and told the guy behind the counter that her grandson's military-issue rifle was a disaster in the jungle and he needed a better weapon. He sold her a Mossberg 500 and she shipped it to him. He survived 3 tours. All right, Vanilla Gorilla, nice piece. All right. So, cool stuff. We're going to close this down with the comments and everything. So, we always appreciate everybody tuning in and doing the comment stuff and all that. So, I really appreciate that and doing all that. So, here's some funny news, people of the channel, all you subscribers, my friends here. Funny news, we actually tried to head on out and get some range footage for you guys and gals. We tried to go out and get some range footage. As weather would permit, this time around it wasn't that it was blazing hot, as it sometimes is in the desert during the summer, which most of us hate, or it wasn't too cold or anything like that. What it was the wind was just a constant, just badgering us the whole time. I mean, we sat there and just kind of did this number a lot, thinking, maybe it was going to have a break or anything. Seriously, I kid you not, there was not even a single break in the wind at all. It was just like, there was no point in setting up cameras. The wind noise would have been made for the worst video, and it just wouldn't have been good stuff at all to put out onto the channel. The wind was even knocking over our chairs and stuff that we were out there. So we kind of just sat out there and, blasted us some just for fun. Seriously, did not even get a single 60 seconds of footage at all. That was how bad the wind was. There was some times where I really thought I was going to be able to at least wing it and grab something and film something for you, even some kind of different intro or outro or midsection of the program here for you, just to kind of surprise you guys. Everybody here subscribed to watching the Collector's Radio. I was thinking it was going to surprise you and throw in some kind of footage, something like that, but it really wasn't, just not possible. It just didn't work out. So anyway, I also did something that I don't normally do. Yeah, and you're probably been wondering, when are we going to talk about that? And one of the guns that I brought out there to mess around with was, hey, my Model 29. The trusty Dirty Harry gun. Brought Clint out there. So one of the things when I got into hand loading and stuff, one of my favorite cartridges to hand load is for the Model 29. Mostly I hand load the specials, and I like doing that because what's fun about the specials is you can, I usually go right around in the middle of the books. I never push my stuff to where they're just exceeding, I never want to go full on the high velocity side. I'm not trying to wear my stuff out. I'm not trying to get insane recoil out of it or anything like that, especially wearing out my stuff, especially classic like this. I intend to hang on to it and enjoy it for years to come. So I don't want to really wear it out. Not saying that you can wear them, you can wear them out, but I'm not saying that if I took this thing out and fired, 10 boxes of 44 Magnum or something like that, it's going to fall apart. But you don't know. So, but I'm just out there just to have fun with it, not recoil dramatically or anything. So I mostly load 44 special. Although this time around I loaded up some Magnums, thinking would be good for video and everything. But here's the catch. Yes, I didn't load my stuff very hot. I never do. And I know, so there's the whole thing. Well, when training and blah blah blah. See, I don't get into that aspect of firearms. I enjoy them for the. I mean, why I own something like that? Strictly the movie Dirty Harry. I just grew up watching the film a lot, and yeah, it's my romance with it, And the added bonus of owning that thing was the fact that it's so fun to shoot with specials. It really is. And heck, in Magnum Force, he literally says he uses a light special. So I mean, that could be interpreted so many different ways. I mean, that's the fun part of it. But that I like doing. I like loading 44 specials. So, but I did load some Magnums in it. Now, what I did do was I actually loaded it with Trail Boss powder. If you've never used Trail Boss powder, Trail Boss is one of my favorite powders that Hodgdon makes. It's one of my favorite powders out there, period, really, because it's versatile in a lot of my revolver stuff, which I like. And what it does is it gives it a more of a cushion recoil. And because it takes up more space in that casing, you're allowed, you can get away with taking a 44 special and loading, on the lower end of the charts with that powder charge, and then it basically fills up that casing more. So you get that, and then the recoil is nice and soft. I believe this stuff was designed for cowboy shooters. So what I did with that was I actually got to load a pretty, I got to fill up that 44 Magnum casing pretty good to a point where it wasn't like you had this much powder in a casing like that. So that was a good, that made it really fun. And I never did, so when I went to go shoot them, it was actually quite fun to shoot. I mean, yes, it punched back a little bit more than my normal specials that I make, so it was fun there to mess around with that. So yeah, that was something I don't normally do. I don't ever, in fact, I never really kept 44 Magnum brass. How I got it was I had gotten some brass from friends of mine that just kind of had it, and they just kind of threw it in a bag and gave it to me, and I just thought, well, what the heck, I just hung on to it. So, hey, and it came in useful, so I used it. But it's also kind of nice to know that I can use it with that powder, and I've never really messed around with that before. So now I have, and hey, why not? So when you're doing something like that, like I would, what I did was, because knowing that they were going to be cranked up a little bit more than my specials. In my specials, I load the lead wad cutters, 240 grain semi wad cutter. I didn't load the lead in the 44 mag because I knew they were going to be pushing a little harder. I didn't want to lead up my barrel by trying to crank that and overpower it and everything like that. So I didn't want to have to break out the Louis lead remover and have to clean this thing, because that has happened. But it's one of those fun cartridges I think is really fun to load. Ever since I started really messing around with this stuff, like my favorite 45 auto, I've never really bought a box of 45 ACP. By the time I got into the 1911s, I was already hand loading, so it kind of went hand in hand. So I've always shot my hand loads through my 1911s. That's another cartridge I really enjoy hand loading for, is 45 automatic. It's fun because it's I love working with the big bore stuff. The larger pieces of brass is always more fun to work with, especially if you're running things like a turret press or a single stage press. It's more fun to mess around with larger pieces. I save, like, if I'm going to load 9mm or something like that, I save that for the progressive press. That makes more sense. Although I find myself using the turret press as my catch-all to just kind of load them up real quick and throw that out there. So my turret press definitely gets its workout. So, but as later on you get involved, and once you have the hand loading bug, you start getting calibers like 4440, 3840, 45 Colt. And it really just opens up a whole lot of fun to do, especially 38 Special. That's another one that I just love loading bunches of it. I'll sit there and just load them and throw them in a big old, one of those big boxes. I'll save the boxes I buy the bullets in from, like, Bear Creek or whatnot, and then throw them all in there after. And, just kind of, if I'm going to go to the range and we want to shoot, 45 Colt, something like that, I'll grab one of those boxes. Probably has like 100 or so rounds in there. And, you just dip in and just shoot it and enjoy it, have fun, watch your hands get all nasty in the end, and clean up the revolver like new. So that's definitely, fun to do. So, but there was something I wanted to share. Share a story with you. This dates back. My mom told me this story. My grandfather, he had passed away now. My grandpa was a World War II vet. Gives you kind of an idea. Not exactly, everybody's getting old. I myself, my parents are, my dad's 70-something, late 70s. So my mom told me this story when she was young, that she got into my grandfather's hunting stuff and got his 12-gauge shotgun shells out and opened them up and took the BBs out. This is the way she explained it to me. Dumped them out for a slingshot, assuming this stuff is like double-aught buck or something, or whatever. And then she closed them back up and put them back in his thing. This was back in the day of paper shells. Okay, that gives you an idea again of how old I am, my family, and all that. So she closed them up. Now he went hunting with this stuff, and you can imagine what had happened. In other words, she said he came back home, and her words were, he was pissed. So, looking back on the island and living there, it was so much fun. My uncle was right next door. I go to his house, and I started hanging out with him a lot. We was doing all these adventures together. I mean, we were together doing stuff weekly, every week. I in the middle of the week or whatever it was, I mean, we would just go do stuff. We went off hunting and just trying to do everything we could before. And he realized too, like he was like, he knew that he was getting older, and there was stuff that he wanted to still do that he was gonna very soon not be able to do. But one of them was like, we wanted to go up and go bird hunting or something like that. He had this dog that he had gotten for all this, and there was a time where he would put the collar on the dog, and this collar, and I know some people don't agree with it. It's a correction collar. It zaps them. I don't like. I'm an animal. I'm an animal lover, so I love animals. But trust me, the story's got a funny part to it. So it's got 3 levels of shock, I guess. The first one, if it's just whatever. 2, it increases. 3, you really need it. Put the dog, get him all rigged up, get him out there. My uncle says, go ahead and fire 1 shot off in the air, and let's just see. We weren't hunting, we were just testing things out. I let off a shot of this, I think it was 20 gauge or something like that. Boom, dog took off. He's calling the dog because the dog's scared. He's calling the dog, and he tell him to stop. Hits number 1. Dog's getting, like you can literally, it's like a cartoon. Dog's just going. Hits number 2, hits number 3. Dog's not going. He turns the device around, opens it up. There's no batteries in it. So, needless to say, the dog went out. We got the dog back. We did get the dog back. But whenever, we realized that wasn't what the dog wanted to do. So we took him home, and we didn't do that to him anymore. So, but dog never did get shocked, but he took off, and it was like, so. But those are just one of the many funny times hanging out with my uncle and going up there and just doing all kinds of stuff. We used to go up there and throw out. We used to save food all week long in a bucket. Go out there, throw it out there, hoping the pigs would come, and sitting out there in the back of a pickup truck waiting for pigs to show up, and nothing ever happening. Sitting out there all, there's good times on the island. It was a lot of fun, a lot of good moments, and if you guys, some of you remember way back, some of you are still subscribers from way back, where I used to post videos from that really nice, like luscious green background that we were shooting at doing all kinds of crazy stuff there. I belonged to a friend of mine named Ron. That was his property, and that property was huge, it's beautiful. I mean, we all kinds of places that we shot, footage and did, escapades of Rampage and all that stuff. That was good times. Unfortunately, Ron had passed away since I've been gone off the island. That was a bummer to know that my buddy Ron had passed away. You never think that this would happen until just time's progressing on, and you just all of a sudden, wow, and of course, most of all my friends are older, so that's just kind of the nature of that. I'm still that guy that's 20 years or 15 years behind them, and I'm still here and missing them. So, but I chose to hang out with these guys, and they've always been good friends of mine. They've been older. I've always kind of gravitated towards them anyway, because I've always all my interest is old stuff, collector stuff. I mean, you like the old 1970 government model 45, and who better to talk to than the guys that were actually living it back then and could tell you. Remember seeing that in the sales counter as a brand new item, and not over in the shelved area where it's the classics or the old stuff or the old used stuff. So I've always enjoyed that. But it just that's life for you. And I realize it more than ever that you gotta do stuff, and you gotta figure out what makes you happy and kind of do it. I recently changed jobs. When I got out here, I was working at an indoor range. Best job I could have had out here. Really, it was my most fun job I had. It ended up closing down. That's what happened. If not, I probably would have still been there. Had they not shown towards the end there, I could tell they were going to close it, because it was just everything was just going down. So read the writing on the wall. So I ended up doing something else temporary, and it was okay. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. So you just kind of search, and you got to kind of figure out what it is you want to do, where it is you want to be. And so I ended up landing a different job, and you can see I'd like to stay with a job, but I mean, unfortunately today's thing, and a lot of my other friends, my older friends, they kind of say this to me too, and I kind of feel it as well. The days of spending 20, 30 years at a job, it seems like those days are kind of over. Jobs are, they're pretty, you're expendable, they're expendable. And life is really short. And I suggest that the route I took was, why would I spend 40 years or, I don't know if, whatever remaining years that you've got left, that you're able to do it, and then hopefully maybe retire and still enjoy retirement and not be, bound to a chair or a bed because you're too beat up to do anything, and that's that. I've got friends that are in that position. But why do something where, the job, that you have to do that? I chose to keep everything in my life simple and not complicate things, so I can survive off of, a lot less than what somebody with, say, a family and all that has to do. I didn't, I can pick and choose a different route, and I'm happy I chose those routes. And so that's one thing is, I jumped over to working a pawn shop job. And of course they have a very large firearm section. That's probably a bad thing, because who knows what could be walking in there. And, it causes me to trade in stuff and trade, trade in stuff, retrieve that. I play with it for a while, get rid of it, throw it back, and that seems to be kind of the what's been going on with me lately. So, But I still, I still kept, some of the good stuff that I like. It's my favorites. They'll be probably the last to go, or I'll hang on to them because I've always wanted them, and I always wanted a Model 29, a nice condition one. I still have my original one that I bought. I was gonna dig it out and do a video of that and give it its own starring video, but yeah, I still have my very original Model 29 that I first bought. I still have it. I don't think I can get rid of it because of its sentimental value. But anyway, they are getting expensive. And speaking of all that, I better get out of here and let you enjoy the rest of your Saturday.